Welcome back. The UK will continue to ensure that the views of Gibraltarians are heard at the United Nations and that the realities of Spain's actions are widely understood. This was asserted by Minister for Europe David Lidington in the House of Commons following questions put to him by Andrew Rosendale. Mr. Rosendale asked what the UN's current position on Gibraltar was and what steps the UK was taking to secure condemnation by the UN of Spain's behaviour. Mr. Lidington replied that the UK robustly defends its sovereignty over Gibraltar at the UN through the rights of reply whenever Spain raises the issue. The UK government has reiterated its disappointment that the European Parliament voted to suspend Gibraltar from the Single European Skies project. Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Transport, Robert Goodwill, said the position is inconsistent with the EU treaties, which are clear that Gibraltar is part of the EU.
The European Single Sky legislation coordinates air traffic control around Europe. In March this year, Gibraltar was excluded following a majority vote in the European Parliament. The amendments were introduced by Spanish Partido Popular MEPs. They mean Gibraltar's airport is excluded from safety and regulation measures it had been part of since the Córdoba Agreement in 2006. In a written answer to the UK Parliament, Tory MP Robert Goodwill said the EU Parliament's vote on single skies is inconsistent with the approach taken earlier this year on air passenger rights, where the European Parliament correctly amended the legislation so it applied to Gibraltar. Mr Goodwill said the UK government cannot accept a return to the pre-2006 practice of suspending Gibraltar Airport from EU aviation measures. He said Gibraltarians and other EU citizens who pass through Gibraltar Airport should benefit fully from the rights accorded elsewhere in the EU. The proposed measure to exclude Gibraltar needs to be agreed by both the European Parliament and the Council. The latter is currently discussing text proposed by the European Commission on the amended Single European Sky legislation, which does not exclude Gibraltar. But while the exclusion remains, it could affect Gibraltar's ability to liaise with facilities in nearby airports. The Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Transport says the UK will continue to oppose any proposals to exclude Gibraltar from the scope of this legislation.
The Command of British Forces has praised the Gibraltar Squadron and Windmill Hill for the fantastic job they do in dealing with Spanish incursions into British Gibraltar territorial waters. In a farewell interview with GBC ahead of his departure on promotion next month to take up a new appointment in Scotland, Commodore John Clink criticised Spain's actions, but said he did not think that there would be any value in basing a Royal Navy warship here on the Rock. Commodore Clink spoke to our news editor, Stephen Nish.
It's been a tremendous privilege to be able to command British forces here and the opportunity to work with a great team of people. It's about 1,000 people in the command, and we've made some real strides, I think, in the time that I've had the privilege of commanding. There's been some challenges. There's been some challenges from the Spanish with incursions. There's been some challenges in pushing through with our plans to make the command slightly more streamlined, more efficient and effective, but it's been in great fun as well.
You referred earlier to the incursions, which were the subject, in fact, of the first interview that we did a year and a half ago. Unfortunately, those Spanish incursions are still continuing. What's your view on how the last year and a half has developed? Has there been no progress at all on that front? Is it just as bad, or possibly even worse?
Well, I think since about April 12, the numbers of incursions they go up and down on a daily basis and on a weekly basis. But I think month on month we see just about the same level of incursions as we did when I arrived here. If anything, creeping up very slightly. It's very frustrating. I think it's inappropriate behaviour by Spanish state vessels. The thing that concerns me most of all is the risk of an accident on the water and somebody being hurt or worse, and that applies not just to Royal Navy personnel, but to the good work done by the Royal Gibraltar Police, the Gibraltar Defence Police, and of course the Spaniards themselves. This should not lead to anyone being hurt on the water. So my number one concern is that we need to do something to try and avoid them coming into our waters and there being an accident, and that's aside from the sovereignty issue where they're conducting unlawful incursions into our water. I would like to say that from my perspective, the Royal Navy Gibraltar Squadron and the guys up at Windmill Hill have done a fantastic job at keeping records of logging, of if necessary, interfering. And you saw the ribs during the survey ship coming in. You know, that is pretty courageous work that they do to try and prevent these Spanish incursions.
The Chamber of Commerce says while Gibraltar's overall economy may be excelling, the future looks bleak for Gibraltar's retail and wholesale sector. In its response to the measures announced in the budget, the Chamber also called for reliable economic indicators agreed upon by the government and opposition, so people can be better informed of how the economy is doing.
The Chamber says while the budget measures in relation to rates are welcome, it's made further representations on behalf of the retail and wholesale sectors. It claims these sectors continue to suffer the effects of relentless pressure from online sales, as well as increasing costs and fewer tourists coming to Gibraltar. The Chamber has welcomed the fact there's been no increase in social insurance costs for employers, and also says it's relieved the government's kept to its manifesto commitment of not increasing the costs of water and electricity. However, it's questioned why some items, but not others, have been subject to a reduction in import duties or a two-tier system. The Chamber says while the government is managing capital projects prudently, as with the previous administration, there's the ever-increasing cost of paying for a growing public sector, as well as above-inflation pay rises. It also says surpluses that turn out bigger than forecast should be invested productively, instead of adding to recurrent expenditure. The Chamber criticises the exchanges between the government and opposition about who spent what. It says it would like to work with both of them to agree on a series of robust economy indicators, which would be of better use to citizens, business people and investors alike.
A 16-year-old appeared in the magistrate's court charged with causing grievous bodily harm in a case dating back to May of this year. The juvenile was also charged with threatening behaviour in relation to an incident at Market Place, which saw a man hospitalised with a compound fracture to the jaw. Two other 16-year-olds were also charged with using threatening language in relation to the same incident. The three juveniles have been released on bail and will next appear in court on the 11th of next month. The RGP is urging parents to supervise their children's use of the internet in order to make it a safe experience for them. It follows a survey which showed that 7 out of every 10 primary and secondary school children have a Facebook account, with a significant number not sharing their passwords with their parents. Recently, the Royal Gibraltar Police carried out a survey on internet safety among school children. It consisted of an anonymous questionnaire among primary and secondary school children, with primary school children aged between 10 and 11. 1,429 students were quizzed. The issues of internet safety and children's safety were the overarching basis for this survey. The statistics show that 971 primary and comprehensive school pupils combined had a Facebook account. 410 did not share their passwords with their parents, and while 413 have had one online chat with a stranger, 285 had more than one chat. The RGP is urging parents to exercise caution and supervise their children's use of the internet in order to ensure a safe internet surfing environment for them.
The survey again has shown the amount of kids that keep or are not willing to share their own passwords with parents. Their reaction would be, if I do not know my parents' password, why should my mum or dad know my password? I would urge parents to check what their kids are doing online, especially at the age of 10 or 11, who have formed part of this survey. Do they switch off the computer when you walk into the room? Are they willing to discuss with you their activities online? It is not the approach on spying on your kids, but familiarize yourself as to their activities online.
The RGP has been fronting a 3-phase awareness campaign with the distribution of the Surf Safe booklet, presentations at school, and the final phase, which will see a similar presentation, but for parents and grandparents at residential estates, in association with tenants' associations. While the recent survey has shown that a high percentage of students use social media for games, researching, browsing and corresponding, the statistics that youngsters do not share valuable information with parents and engage in conversations with strangers gives the RGP cause for concern as they attempt to help parents and students gain a better understanding of how to safely navigate the online world. Also this week, another power cut left the whole of Gibraltar without electricity for over 2.5 hours on Thursday evening. Gibraltar Pride was held this weekend with a parade down Main Street, and the summer sports and leisure programme is set for next month. For the rest of this week's news, you can head over to our website at gbc.gi/news. And don't forget to tune in to Radio Gibraltar and GBC Television throughout the week for the very latest local news. You can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Thank you very much for watching. From the team, good night.